Hi everyone, it's Sue from Ully Cat's Design and Ully Cat's World blog. And I've got a special card today in honor of Simon Says Stamps, Stamptember, and the Riley and Company special issue of this stamp with Riley and the little Simon Says Stamp dog. This is a just flying by to say hi set. Flying by, I guess is the name of it. In honor of that card, I'm going to show you some of the things we're going to be using. I've got two Stampurier sets of paper, and they're both kind of in the same color palette. The Land of Pharaohs and Voyages Fantastiques. So those are the papers we're going to use. And to make our card be a pop-up, I'm going to be using Karen Berniston's Catherine Label pop-up. We're going to cut out two of the mechanisms. We're going to be using the rounded corner square dies from the twist panel pop-up. Here are our Catherine Label pop-ups cut. And here's our card base. It is going to be a 5x7 size card. And I have actually cut two pieces. One is 5x7 and the other one is 5x7.5. I have butted the shorter piece up against that, scored it, and then I folded it and glued it together so we have our 5x7 card. Now you can see I have actually gone ahead and kind of laid out my card knowing that we're going to be covering all of this with decorator papers. So my idea is that we will have two of these mechanisms, one there and one there, laid out. And I've kind of sketched out on the front where we're going to use those rounded cornered rectangular panels to cut out like an airplane window. So it'd be like you're looking through the window and we will see our flying plane kind of here. And then the banner mechanism will be on our second panel. So they will come out this way and there will be a string tied onto the back of the plane and onto the banner. So when they pull out, that string will be taut. First thing we're going to do is we will glue our papers on. So this will be our front. And this is going to be our inside paper. And this will be our back. So I'll start with those. These two panels I will wait to put on until after I've cut the window, because I don't think the die in my machine will cut through 3 layers of paper. So I've got my front and my back papers glued on. Now we'll glue in the inside. And I have to remember that the window will go down an inch to work with the spacing on these. And the idea with these papers is to, once this one is in, is to kind of match up this line with this so that we get this nice sort of spiral effect. So I've got my papers laid in, and I forgot that I needed to leave a little bit of a gap there, so I had to use my scissors to trim the excess. And my white one I did well. As you can see, I didn't do any of the fine trimming, but I will go ahead and do that now. So I need to measure over from this edge 1 1/8 inch. So there's the 1 inch and there's the 1/8 inch. Here are our mechanisms. So what I've done, because this is two-sided paper, I have cut one from the blue side and the other one I turned the die over and cut from the back side so that I would have the blue. This is the one that I'm folding basically backwards to get a different directional movement for the die. And all we have to do is glue those. And as you can see, I've already gone ahead and trained all the folds. So I'm only going to put glue on this triangle. And you can always watch the assembly video for the Catherine Label pop-up. I want to make sure that this is following that fold. Now this one, we will butt up right up against that part. Making sure that that's straight with a fold. And just a reminder, there's always the steps on the back of the packaging, which can help you if you don't have access to watch the video when you're making your card. So there we have them. I've taken the rectangle with the rounded corners, it's a decorator die from the twist panel pop-up set. I'm going to measure, and I shouldn't have put my pop-up mechanisms in right now, but I think I'm going to be able to do this anyway. So if the card is slightly wider than 5 inches by 1/8, the center is roughly there. And then we need to measure down 1 inch. So one of the things you can do on these dies is there's usually, I don't know if you can see it, but there is a little notch that is the center of that die. So if we take our T-square and we line it up with where that inch marker is, and our little pencil mark, that's a great way to get that centered on. Now we'll go die cut it. So we lucked out and we were able to cut through most of the die. I did have to cut this top part because since we installed these, I forgot that I wasn't going to be able to go as far. I did have to, because I ran these through, I did have to retrain these mechanisms to fold in the correct way. And I'm actually, while we're letting this all rest, I'm going to let that rest with a weight on it. I stamped out all the stamps that I wanted to use on a 8.5 by 11 sheet of probably 65-pound weight cardstock. I set my stamps up so that I would be able to stamp in kind of rectangular spaces so I could get 4 of them on. I liked my first color combinations, so we went with that. I actually stamped the bottom half of the plane on this silver, it was a envelope that I had. I still need to stamp on the banner Happy Birthday. I'll do that, but I'll give you an idea of what colors I used. I used a bunch of different browns, and 2 of these are Montmartre ones, and they are burnt sienna and raw sienna. And then for my creative craft products set, I've used rose beige and burnt sienna. And you'll notice that between the sets, they're different colors. Although if you really want to know the difference, the mousse is with this burnt sienna, and the French bulldog is with this one. So you can see there really isn't a whole lot of difference, but there is a very slight difference. The caps were done with the raw sienna, and then just shading on the mousse was with the rose beige. For the inside of the plain cockpit, I used some warm gray. The red scarfs are geranium, and the black is black. I guess I used some of this warm gray on the inside of the cockpit too. Kind of did a couple different things. I also took the darker warm gray to kind of give some definition to the propeller end of the plane and a little bit of this back tail piece. I use my tiny fussy cutting detail scissors to cut out everything. The scarves and the caps I cut out and did those separately and then glued them on. And as I said, I stamped the plane on the silver, cut that out, and glued it onto the back of my white. I want to cut for the front of the card a silver frame to go around the window. To do that, I'm going to use the twist panel mechanism die, but I'm only going to cut it to a certain point. This doesn't cut, but it scores it, so I'll have a line that I can take my scissors to cut it with. So I've got my window frame cut. Now all I have to do, as I said, is trim off where the score line is. So I have a piece of acetate. I have put double-sided tape that's 1/8 of an inch wide on the back of my window. And by pulling just the corner papers back, I've taken a silver marker and just gone along the edge of this so that when we go to put this over, because I kind of warped the frame a little bit when I stuck it on, it won't be so noticeable. You won't see like a white paper edge there through the window. So again, with acetate, I've put my 1/8 inch wide double-sided tape, and by pulling off kind of at the corners, you can kind of get the placement figured out, and that looks good from both sides. And there we have our airplane window. So I've cut out a couple of the little clouds. I've got them spaced so when it's open, placement looks good with the plane. We still have to stamp the banner, and I've got Way to Go and Happy Birthday are my two choices. And I think it's going to be easier to stamp, and I'm going to use a stamp platform. So I got 2 banners stamped. I tried coloring with warm gray, number 1. And I think I like the Happy Birthday the best. So I've taken this large needle and I poked a hole through where the hole is. And I have tied a big knot on the end of this thread and put glue. And while that glue is drying, I'm going to let that go. And this is the kind of thread that I've used. So we'll connect it onto the plane, doing basically the same thing of just pushing the needle through. So we'll have to figure out how far we need to tie off the thread. Because this, I think I'm going to take some temporary tape. We'll just kind of try loops to see, because we have to make sure when this closes, maybe one of those where we need to make sure that the Happy Birthday goes down first. So that might mean that we have to put the plane on a pop dot. So I've gone ahead and just tied a big thick knot so that it won't go any further there. So one of the things we need to do is to establish that where the point starts on this banner is it needs to be right at the edge of that or a little bit further out. And if we put this up on a pop dot, that should give us enough room for that to go underneath. I'm going to put some glue on the back side of this, and I've put some little foam dots on that mechanism. And like I said, we may have to train that to go down. But we can see through the window that Riley and Simon, that's his antlers are getting caught right there. So there's a catch point we'll have to fix. So the solution to our catch point problem with the moose's ear was solved with 2 things. One, I put a frame, I just glued it around since it doesn't come in contact with the acetate. And 2, I just moved the plane and the moose down, and I've trained this banner to go underneath. So now the last thing we want to do is start decorating the front of the card. So this one says I'm just flying by to say hi. I'm going to cut off the word hi. I don't have problems cutting apart my stamps when there's something like this, and I usually just put it right back there. And if I really do need to put it on, it's usually easy enough to line up that it's not a problem. So I will be doing this in my stamp platform. I've added some more clouds and this label here for a personal message, and that's from the Catherine Label pop-up set. So here is our finished card. Just flying by to say happy birthday. And on the back, life is a journey, enjoy the flight. And on the back flap of the envelope, you're plain awesome. And there's our card for Stamptember with Riley and Company for Simon Says Stamps. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again. Bye-bye.